Daniels is back. He's being chased. He's running. He's being pushed. He's knocked out of bounds. The Eagles take over on downs. The Eagles take over on downs. He goes with a pitch to Barkley. Barkley across the 30, 25, 20, 15, 10. Goodbye!
Hello.
Another one.
Hello.
40 yards. 40 yards. Takes the snap. He's going to carry himself. He's going to run. He's going to score. Hurts going for the end zone. Devontae Smith, he caught it one-handed. I don't know if he stayed. He's in. He's in.
Oh my
goodness. One hand. I don't know how he did it. Lawrence back. Lawrence looks, firing for the end zone. Intercepted to Kobe Dean. He picks it off from the end zone. No flags. The Eagles are going.
And it's all birds all the time.
And welcome to the AATBirds recap. It's a little bit late, I know, but we want to at least get it in there before our Wednesday show or preview of this week. But
no. It's the fact, Johnny, that everybody else in the NFL got a chance to talk about their teams today, and the Eagles are sitting atop the NFC East, and we wanted our flowers.
Yeah, you can say that. Listen, it was a hell of a game. Start out slow. We'll get into all that. We'll get into what we liked, what we didn't like. A couple of things there, but the Eagles take command. That's what I put as the headline here. Eagles take command, win 26-18. And again, it was 26-10 before a late touchdown and 2-point conversion by Washington. And listen, it comes to looking at the Philadelphia Eagles, Saquon Barkley, 198 total yards. Yep. Absolutely tremendous. And I want to get your thoughts on let me get your 2 key points of this game on Thursday night, and then we'll kind of discuss that because I got a couple other questions for you. I feel like the question thing helps us with a few things when you take a look at this team. But I'm going to start off with your two key points.
So my 2 key points, number one, Saquon Barkley is a freak of nature who, as the game goes on, he just gets stronger. And he just, you run him into the line, it's 2-3 yards, but it's like you're wearing them down. And then by the end of the game, my God, he is going right to the middle of the line, and they can't bring him down because they're exhausted of getting hit with a battering ram. So key point number 1 is, and I do truly, truly believe this, Saquon Barkley should be in the conversation for league MVP, not just offensive player of the year, which he won't get because he doesn't have the touchdowns for it. But as most valuable player to his team, Saquon Barkley is number 1 in my opinion. Key point number 2, Quinyon Mitchell is scary good. The fact that this defense did such a job that Terry McLaurin didn't even get targeted on Thursday night is incredible. And when you look at what Quinyon Mitchell has been able to do against some of the top tier wide receivers in this league, I don't think we realized just how good he was going to be so quickly. I mean, he is incredible.
Listen, I thought he was going to be a good player. I thought he was going to be a good player. Like, don't get me wrong. I think, when they drafted him, I thought, oh, this is going to be great. I didn't expect him to be this good, this fast. Listen, he's, almost like an earthquake there. All right. So I didn't expect him to be like this good, this quick. And I think another thing too, when you look at it, is them implementing Cooper DeJean as the nickel, the slot corner, and what he's able to do. And listen, Zach Bond, you cannot give enough credit. Talked Bond, and I think one thing early in the game, and I was so impressed because it was something that needed to improve early in the year, and we have talked about it. When we talked about Nakobe Dean early in the game, there was a one-on-one opportunity. Jaden Daniels gets out of the pocket, and he's going for the first down, and it's just him and Nakobe Dean. There's no one else around him, and Nakobe Dean gets him down. short of the first down, they have to punt. That is, he would early in the year, he wouldn't have done that. Early in the year, he most likely would have been a missed tackle. He has improved so much.
The whole team early in the year would not have been able to make that tackle. One of the things that is most impressive to me is the sound tackling on this team. They went back to fundamentals of good coverage, good pass rush, good tackling. And that defense is putting up stats that we haven't seen in a couple of years.
No, it's in a couple of years. It's more like been over a decade, essentially.
I know.
Like, I know 2017 with Jim Schwartz, and they had their moments. They had their point. I get that, but it just wasn't this.
This is a Jim Johnson defense. I mean, point blank period. This is Jim Johnson defense. And going back to my point about Quinyon Mitchell, I think the only thing holding him back from defensive rookie of the year is he doesn't have the interception numbers yet.
No, he doesn't. He's dropped a few. He had one. He was hit into CJ Gardner-Johnson, so it didn't. He didn't catch that. So
I think if he gets a couple interceptions over the next couple of weeks, he catapults himself to the top of that conversation. And I don't even know anybody else who's even in the conversation.
Jared Verse for the Rams. He has, I know, 4.5 or 5 sacks. He's been playing really well defensively. But again, you're right. If he caps off with a couple interceptions here and keeps doing what he's doing, he's more than likely going to be the front runner when it looks at that award. So listen, all in all, like, I know they started off slow, but the defense kept them in the game. And, you really look at it, the defense is really helping them. I know the offense has the star power and everything like that, but the offense has been starting slow. And again, I'll tell you this, it's been mostly across the league. Like, you look at great teams so far, a lot of them have really good defenses. And, some of them, struggle on defense, but they could score offensively. But case in point, like today, you take a look at some of these games this weekend, and the Baltimore Ravens, who are high-flying, high-powered offense, get stifled and shut down by the Pittsburgh Steelers. And listen, you have
all they're able to do is push field goals across.
Exactly. And again, that's what it's about.
To the credit of the Ravens, that's not exactly a bad offense on the other side. So good teams. Look, we and you can even go to the Bills and the Chiefs tonight. I mean, that was a really slow moving game offensively, but defense wins championships. So if that is solidified, then I am very confident going into this stretch run where, look, I mean, Jalen Hurts he made good decisions with the ball. He didn't light the league up.
But again, you hear, and maybe it's just because it's Philadelphia or whatever it is, about, he missed this guy, missed that guy, missed it. Watching the games today, Lamar Jackson missed a ton of guys.
Lamar Jackson made some bad choices. Josh Allen made some bad choices. Patrick Mahomes made bad choices.
But you're not going to hear about that. You're going to hear about it's just the way it is. Listen, Jalen Hurts, it's what he is. He is a winner. And we've said that he's a winner. And the one thing about him is, yes, he may struggle a quarter, may struggle a half, but he's not going to lose you games. He's not going to go out and set you up for failure. It's just not what he's going to do. He's going to put you in position, get down the field to be able to put points on the board and be able, yes, has he had red zone turnovers? Yeah, he has. But he's going to be able to put you in position to win. That's just the type of quarterback, type of player that he has grown into and is still evolving and growing. So, was he perfect on Thursday night? No, but he made some key plays late in the game. And again, this team
I will add one more thing to that. There is no way and no possible word that you can say to convince me that Jalen Hurts was not concussed Thursday night.
I would agree with you. I said that once I saw with that ultra trickery type of, I don't know what it was. It wasn't very good. And when he hit the ground,
it was a bad play call, and then he got his face driven into the ground, a la Carson Wentz in the seat.
That was the second one. The first one was
awful.
Was Louvu hit him in the back of his head, and then he slowly got up, and then it was it was a hands to the face. It should have been a face mask, and then the guy landed on him, and there was no penalty on either of those. And then later in the game,
it was very reminiscent. Yeah. It was very reminiscent of the Carson Wentz hit. in the Seattle playoff game a couple years ago.
Yeah, I could see that. But look,
very reminiscent.
They were able to basically towards the end of the game because Washington had bottled up Saquon for most of the game.
Yeah.
And then the offensive line, they threw a couple things in there, and he had those 2 long runs. And it's so refreshing to watch how explosive, and it's just unbelievable some of the stuff that he can do. And even early in the game, that huge third down catch that he had over the middle there and made the one defender miss, and then he was gone all the way into, I think, inside the 20-yard line then. But he is such an explosive athlete, and thank you, like a lot of the fans were cheering, thank you, Giants.
Thank you, Giants. Because, it is downright unfair how good Saquon Barkley is as the game goes on.
Yeah. And you know what? I give Kenny Gainwell flack when I'm watching the games. I get sometimes frustrated watching him play. Listen, in the limited carries he had a couple nice, big gains, and I was totally okay with that. But to see
on Thursday night he gained well, yes.
Yeah, he gained well. That's a good one. Good job. But the one thing is, like, people will say, "Oh, well, Devontae only had 4 catches for 21 yards, and AJ." The thing is, you ran the ball for over 200 something yards. You're not going to have like 800 yards of offense. Like, there's going to be games where Devontae only has 20 yards, 25 yards, and there's some games that he has 80, 90 yards and a touchdown or 2. Same with AJ. There's some games AJ gets like this game, 5 for 65, and Goddard had 5 for 61, right. And then or some games that one of them has over 100 yards and one of them has,
I like with our offense, right? We have the ability to, we get the ability to ride the hot hand, right? So Saquon has the hot hand. He's going to get 20, 25 carries a game. If Devontae is getting favorable matchups, we can get the ball to Devontae. If AJ is getting favorable, because we have so many weapons. And what's exciting about this is nobody's ego is too big. You don't have to get the ball to Devontae a whole bunch of times. Now, I would be much more comfortable if he started getting a lot more looks. And I agree, PA. I would agree that we start off way too slow. And I think some of that's play calling. Some of that is because we had a big boxing match this weekend. Some of that is the early round feeling each other out a little bit. But it's you look at the game that Detroit played against Jacksonville. They didn't waste a single – they put their foot on the gas and accelerated. Hell, look at the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos slapped the Falcons silly. And those are 2 teams that the Philadelphia Eagles struggled with. So I want to make it very clear that, yes, we do need to come out quicker. Yes, we do need to make sure that when we're playing a team that is not as good as us, we are really starting to kind of showcase that they are not as good as us. But that comes with time. The positive is that we have all the weapons that we do.
And I'm going to say this too, looking around the league, around the NFC, I'm not really looking around the league. The AFC is what it is. They're going to fight between each other, but the NFC is the one you really key on. And, you have the Green Bay Packers. The Eagles beat them early in the year on a neutral site. They're still, a good team. The Vikings are a good squad. You have the Detroit Lions, who are on fire after coming back on Sunday night against the Houston Texans and then absolutely obliterated the Jacksonville Jaguars. The one thing with them I'm really interested to see, and one thing I want your opinion on this, because this team with Detroit, if there's some way the Eagles can get into the number 1 seed, the thing with the Detroit Lions I think they only play 2 games outdoors this year. I think it was 2 games because I think it's Chicago and it's Green Bay. I think those are the only 2 games they play outdoors. Otherwise, every other game they play was indoors. I kind of want to see that offense and that high fly and everything when.
So I know the point you're getting to, and I'm going to stop you because that is an offense that is being dominated right now by the run game, and the run game translates to cold weather.
Not so much today. They passed the ball a whole hell of a lot.
Sure, but you look at their running stats, and they weren't too shabby either.
So it's just something I want to, because sometimes when you're playing on artificial turf and then you get the grass.
They passed the ball today because Jacksonville's secondary is atrocious, and they're actually good at stopping the run, which we learned when we played them.
Yeah, so let me see who they played this year. Yes, they played at home. Arizona's a dome, home. Cowboys are a dome. Minnesota's a dome. They played in Green Bay, scored 24 points. It was 24-14.
Mm-hmm. And that was some crappy weather. That was really, really bad weather against Green Bay. I remember that.
So, yeah, they play – all right, so they play outside 3 times because they play at the Colts, which is a dome, and then they play home games. Then they play at Chicago, at San Fran, and then finish with home. But listen, that's one thing that Eagles fans will start looking at as the season goes. They're neck and neck there. They have the Colts, the Bears, the Packers, the Bills, the Bears, the 49ers, the Vikings. And the Eagles have their tough matchups with the Rams, Baltimore. You have the Steelers, and then you still have your divisional games: the Cowboys, Commanders, and Giants. So, it's going to be something to keep an eye on because I understand. Like the one thing is, I understand the Commanders are 7-4, and you have essentially a game and a half lead.
We said, though, that the Commanders game was going to say a lot about the Commanders as well because they hadn't really gone up against anybody too good yet.
They're 0-4 versus teams over 500.
And there's kind of what I'm saying.
Under 500. But the way their schedule lines up is they have the Dallas Cowboys twice. They play the Eagles at which I believe that game will wind up being flexed.
I agree.
Probably a Sunday night, if not a 425 game. But when you take a look at them, because I just don't want people to think, oh, we beat them, they're done, they're not gonna be in contention for the division, because that's not true. They are still a solid squad. They have the Cowboys this week coming up. Then they play the Titans. Then at the Saints, Eagles, Falcons, Cowboys. They have all the makings that if they go on a run here, they could be neck and neck with the Eagles too. So they're a team not to discount because their defense is starting to come alive a little bit. And plus they're going to get Marshawn Lattimore healthy here. But it was a huge test for the Eagles to be able to take a rookie quarterback who I don't know. I know I mentioned it about, he doesn't play all that many games in terms of in a college season. Is he going to hit a rookie wall? Potentially could happen sooner rather than later, but he is still a talented player, and the Washington defense, as it did struggle early in the year, has started to come a little bit more cohesive as a unit. Right. Listen, they had so many free agents, so they're starting to get better and better. But listen, it was a dogfight, an NFC East dogfight, and the Eagles, came away on top. And listen, I love seeing a guy like Brandon Graham. 4 tackles, a sack, 2 tackles for loss, was all over the place.
Did Zach Bond really have 15 tackles?
15 total tackles.
15 tackles.
15 tackles, yeah. And, it's just when you watch this defense, and it's something that we didn't see last year. Last year when the collapse started happening and we watched the defense it was just like a bunch of individuals trying to make a play themselves. They weren't playing as a unit. It was just too much of trying to freelance, and you can't win football games that way. And I think, looking at this defense and looking at this team, Josh Sweat's playing well. Nolan Smith's starting to, play a little bit better, get some pressure on the quarterback. Even Bryce Huff is getting pressure. They're putting him on passing situations, and he's getting, pressure on the quarterback there. And you look at our linebackers, we talked about them. We talked about the secondary. CJ Gardner-Johnson, I think, is starting to get himself back in the groove and feeling familiar with everything there. Reed Blankenship's playing well, had the huge interception. It's just when you take a look at the defense and what they're doing, and then, a guy like Jordan Davis, the 1 3rd-and-1 play, he absolutely stood up the offensive lineman, and literally the running back ran right into him, and then he was able to corral him. And he's doing what he's asked to do. He is – when he's in the game.
Did I see that Jordan Davis played all 66 snaps?
I think Jalen Carter played all 66. Jordan Davis, played all 66.
Jalen Carter did. Which, again, as a defensive lineman, is insane.
He is starting to really feel, himself when you take a look at him as, what he did against the Cowboys, and then what, he's able to do. And this defensive line was able to push around that Washington offensive line. And, one thing that I do find, funny, because back when the Eagles played in the Super Bowl and they lost, unfortunately, the offensive tackle the right tackle for the Chiefs was Andrew Wiley, and how he mentioned that, we stopped that pass rush and everything. Not saying, the field wasn't a big contributor in not being able to get pressure on the quarterback. And I waited for them to play him, and he went to the Commanders, I think, last year. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure if he was hurt when they played him or whatever, but, he was beaten a number of times. And it's just funny how he talked. And it's just a player that I always like to watch when he has his opinion, knowing he's not the best right tackle, but, being able to, make that opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Eagles team it's starting to blend together. It is starting to come up. I mean, look, it's everything we wanted out of this team, and all it took was us being a little bit patient. Now, had it kind of gone the other way and never corrected itself, yeah, we would have had a lot to talk about. But instead, right now, the Eagles just have to keep with what they're doing, because what they're doing is working. So that's my big takeaway. The defense has got to keep defensing, and the offense has got to get a little more aggressive a little sooner in the games.
Yeah. And listen, we'll be back on Wednesday night. We're going to preview the matchup, the Sunday night matchup. So next Sunday night, the Eagles play the Rams in LA. It's going to be a tough matchup because Matt Stafford is going to have his weapons in Nakua and Cooper Kupp. It's going to be a tough game. You can't say it's going to be easy, even though the record shows that the Rams are 5-5. Listen,
it shows 5-5 because they were missing Puka Nakua and they were missing Cooper Kupp for a large portion of their season. So I don't look. You can't look at that record. It's the same way that the Bengals at 4-6 are still in the playoff hunt. It's the same reason why San Francisco is still competing. I mean, that NFC West is going to be insane, but they're still competing.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a fun breakdown. So we'll be with you on Wednesday night to preview that, and we'll go all about that there. But with that, as always, it brings us to the two words we love to say when we finish out the show, and that is
Go Birds. Go Birds.
This is Matt Ware. Hey, for all the Eagle content you need, go follow All About the Birds. They do a damn thing. Check them out.
Hey, Eagles fans, I may be in Tampa, but I know where to find the best Eagles content out there. Check out my friends at All About the Birds.
Philadelphia, what's up? This your boy Freddie Mitchell, a.k.a. Fred X. It's all about the bird.
All birds all the time. All birds all the time.
All About the Birds provides you with weekly analysis, game recaps, informative interviews, and it's all birds all the time.